Hi, welcome to the Daiku Podcast. I am Gary Snow. Today I wanted to talk to you about something that's kind of been on my mind since watching a football game on Sunday, which is the OSR, or the OSR style of play, is similar to sports. You heard right. And I'm going to get to why I draw that conclusion, but just to give you some context of how I kind of arrived at it. I was watching a football game on Sunday, and as I was watching it, I watch everything with the lens of tabletop role playing. So as I was watching it, I was thinking about this. But I've mentioned before that I used to play pretty competitive hockey, and the Venn diagram between competitive or sports and tabletop role playing game. If you look at the circles, there's a very narrow sliver of the two of them kind of cross section. And that's kind of where I was always sitting. So on Friday nights, after I played in front of thousands of people, I would rush over to my friend's place to play a couple hours of Dungeons and Dragons, while all the other hockey players went and got with girls and had fun and partied, whereas I was rolling D20. And I didn't mind that. That was kind of my thing. I really always enjoyed tabletop role-playing over sports, but I happened to be good at it. So I couldn't help but embrace some of the, watching habits and viewing habits and playing habits. So I've always kind of been in both worlds. And my wife doesn't care for sports, and she would much rather watch like a detective show or something like that that has the drama built in and the stories built in. And for me, I've just curtailed my sports because they're not really that important. I watch my YouTube videos and tabletop role-playing stuff, so that's kind of good for me. But as we were watching it on Sunday, the football game, which was probably one of the best for the ages between Buffalo and Kansas City, I put it on, and for whatever reason I kept watching, and my wife begrudgingly sat down beside me, and she was on her phone, not really paying attention. And as the game continued and all these big shifts changed in the game, and within like the last 4 or 5 minutes, there was a lead change and a lead change, and it went into overtime, and then like a touchdown and a coin toss. And my wife was like just glued to the TV, and she was like, I cannot believe this happened. And I always used to say to her, like, that is the drama of sports. And that's why in the pregame show, you often see these people on the broadcast, they set up the game where they have like, maybe there's a player that's almost going to retire, and he's in his last couple seasons, and does he have what it takes to win a game? And so there's built-in drama. Or maybe there's like a new player that's up and coming, they want to knock the old player off the pedestal, or is this team is an underdog, and all those pieces of drama play out in real time, in real life, and you cannot replace it with scripted drama. And so as we watched this, and she was enthralled with it, and like I said, I rarely watch them anymore, but I was very lucky to have watched this one, and it just made me think of the way tabletop role-playing games are. So when I started doing the comparison, you might say something like, a system like Powered by the Apocalypse that people love, and it's very genre driven, and you're almost guaranteed those kind of dramatic swings as part of the system. And I've heard a lot of people in the OSR area, Old School Revolution or Renaissance, for those that maybe didn't know, what they really like is that the player agency is almost complete as far as whatever the player can do or actions they can take happen, and there's no real guidelines to it. And the reliance upon random tables also adds to that, where the dungeon master or games master might just make an adventure on the fly, and it's improv, and you just kind of never know what's going to happen. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about the OSR style of play, is that you really don't know what's going to happen. And it's the same thing with sports. Like, you cannot script that outcome. If you did, people would say that's not believable, that's not realistic, it could never happen. But yet it did, and people believe it because they saw it play out in real life. And it's the same with the OSR style of play, where things happen that you would have never predicted. You just couldn't have. And the beautiful part of the collaborative storytelling of role-playing games, and OSR really hones in on that. And I know for those people that might not be familiar with OSR or OSR adjacent or new SR, the play style is what really makes the OSR. And that play style is where lots of player agency, not too much lifting on behalf of the dungeon master or games master. It's them just reading the situation and providing reasonable expectations of the scenario and the setting and what's going to happen. And with that said, there's also the FKR, which is a slight, even more in-depth view of player agency and just making things happen, and the DM or GM just reading the situation and providing context. And when you have to roll, you have to roll, and whatever the outcome is, the outcome is. And it's probably, I mean, I always kind of lean towards it. I love all role-playing games, but the OSR style of play, it doesn't have to mean retro clone or, you know, first edition, or probably more accurately basic, and the OD&D and that kind of thing. But what I think of as OSR and OSR adjacent is the play style, which is light, and it's up to the players to decide what their actions are, and it's up to the GM to determine how realistic they are and provide context as far as when they roll and what determines the outcome of it. And I just, as I was watching the football game, it made me kind of go, the OSR is kind of like sports, and there's kind of something magical about not knowing what's going to happen, and it's kind of exciting. And that's, you know, you can watch a whole series of crime dramas and you kind of know by the end of the show this is going to happen, or you can watch a football game and you have no idea what could happen. There could be a block kick, there could be an injury, there could be all sorts of things. You just never know, and that's kind of what I think the OSR style of play is. So thanks for listening throughout all of my kind of weird ramblings. Let me know what you think. Am I accurate in that? Has somebody said this before and I just haven't heard it? I know the OSR style of play, I've got some books. I mean, there's so many. This one I just kind of stumbled across recently by Daniel Bishop, which is Choices, Context, and Consequence. And it's very similar to the ICI principle in Bastionland, where it's like you give people the context of what's going to happen, and then they can make the choices and suffer the consequences. And that really is the OSR style of play. And for me, it's very cool, and it doesn't have to be, like I said, a retro clone. There's lots of new games that play in that style, and it's, I think, kind of the future. So old is going to be new, and that's kind of my approach, is that old school Revolution is just about a play style more than a type of game. And I know a lot of people have said that before, so I'm kind of recovering old ground, but I've not seen anybody kind of compare it to sports. So let me know what you think, and I'll put some links to, we have a little Discord server for game designers. I'll just remind you of that now if you want to check it out and throw your hat in the ring of sharing your work and getting critiqued on it and having ideas. And, you know, it's a good community, a welcoming community, so feel free to stop by and say hi. And until next time, take care.